Alright, we've got another ship to build. Today we're building the USS Alfred. Now this was built in 1775, I believe. Yeah, it was originally a merchant ship and converted into, you would have guessed, a warship. And it was the very first warship of um what's it called? Yeah, it was America's very first warship. So it was pretty dope. You know what I mean? They built this thing in 1775, yeah. It was not too long after the Hannah, which was also built in 1775. I had to check the audio real quick. I'm sorry about that. All right, anyways, I've got our block palette and the size of the ship. So right here, this is the keel height, and then right here, this is the approximate main deck height. Now, the thing about this ship is it's going to be a lot harder to build because there's not as many pictures online of it. So we're kind of going to have to guess. Um, but I will do my best. And we got to start with the front of the ship. So we're going to do a little bit of that because it then goes up like that. Little something like that, I think. Oh yeah, okay. Now it goes, one out, but see, we can fix this by simply removing one block there. Bam! Okay. Now, next up, we have to build the aft, the rudder, and, everything else back here. So a lot of these older ships, really a lot of wooden ships, especially of this time, all had a very similar keel design, something like that. Um, Now the thing is, it did eventually get more flat. So what we've got here is we'll keep this block because it's got to go back a little further. We're going to build our keel back here. And what we see with these rudders is they become flatter as we go on. And now this one isn't entirely flat, but it serves a purpose, which is ruddering, if you know what I mean. So we'll just do this, and then this. Okay, and that's our rudder. And then, I'm gonna have that one block at the bottom, and we'll go ahead and work on bringing this up. Now, an interesting thing with this ship, it was multicolored, at least in some pictures. Because like I said, um, as we know, Google isn't always right. So we're gonna do something like this, and then it'll be a little higher up in the back, like always. Just for that extra mile, the extra cabin space in the back usually, typically that's what it's for. And okay, so I think we'll go one more block up. We'll actually probably do this. Oh yeah, okay. So we've got that down, which means we can honestly get rid of that pillar in the middle. And then are we at the back? No, we still have a little more to go. So what we might do, actually, cut that off, Boom. Okay. Yeah, that looks better. And controversial move there because the ship for the most part was more flat than, a lot of other ships, especially more than the Hannah, because the Hannah had that whole curve up in the back. Now this one, you didn't see a huge cabin in the back, which is why I'm saying um, maybe a little controversial to do what I did. See, what we'll do here is have that color diff differ difference differentiation, and we will get to work on the keel. Now I'm gonna have to kind of assume the shape of the keel, as like I said, not many pictures of it online, or not even, like model ships that I could look at. So we'll do something like that. Because again, a lot of the earlier wooden ships, they had the flat keel and the forward and aft positions. Um, well, if even something like that, probably. No. Yeah, that's more like it. Okay. And then now, what we'll do is extrude this middle bit out one. And do the same on this side. So now what we have is the very bottom of our keel, and it's taken shape, definitely. It's a little rough right now. We're gonna try and do a little bit better with everything on this ship. We're gonna get these sails looking right. Honestly, this could totally be a multi-day build, just because it's just a bit bigger. All right, so we've got that. And I'm just gonna do that. I'm thinking, honestly, I don't like how it curves like that, so what I may do is this. Just to give it some extra shape. Because, yes, like I said, um, there's not a whole lot I can go off of, which makes this a little more difficult than the Hannah. Because the Hannah, I could look at model ships and, kind of see more what I wanted to do, what was more accurate. But for this, kind of just going off of what I can assume based on early shipping, and yeah, it's a little bit more difficult. But we're gonna make it work. And in the aft, it's gonna be a bit different. kind of like that. But as you can see, the shape it's fixing. It's getting better. We still do have to go one more up and out. Now, I'll be honest, I'm a bit of a sucker for older ships, some wooden ships. I love them. I'll be honest. I love the look. I love the architecture. I guess it's not really. It is kind of architecture, but I just love them. You know, there's not many of them that you'll see in the modern age, and it's tragic, really, because they're a work of art. You know, this I while it looks derpy because I failed with the sails terribly, it looks good. If you just look at the if you just completely cover up everything above the deck. Now this one, it's looking grand. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build historic, like historic evolutions in our Navy's history. Um, so we've gone from the first ship ever commissioned to the first warship. And now, while they were built in the same year, um, one significantly bigger because this is I believe, a saloon or a ooh, it's a I have to look it up. It was a schooner, and the Alfred is not a schooner. It is a frigate, and you'll see a lot of frigates in the early times. That's what a lot of wooden ships were. Um, but as of course, technology evolved and steel became adapted, um, and more widely used, we will see the use of steel rather than wood, which is a great evolution in maritime history, not just for naval ships, but for ships of all kinds, ocean liners, um, later cruise ships. You know, and I will say that I don't plan on just building naval ships. I plan on, well, all ships are naval, but in the sense that um, um, navy ships used for war. You know what I mean? I don't plan on just building navy ships. I plan on eventually branching out and doing some ocean liners, possibly uh some cruise ships. They're huge, but I do want to build some 1-to-1 scale cruise ships. And I plan on doing more than just the U.S. Navy. I'd like to do German because German's ships have always just they've been amazing. And you know, you can't really say a lot about Germany because it tends to be offensive now. But Germans they're good at engineering. I'll give them that. If there's anything they're good at, it is engineering. Okay. Yeah, here we go. So we'll do that. And it's just two, 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 two. So you do the two, then just cut off one. Yeah, I do love German ships, and I think the plan with a lot of the German ships is just mainly ocean liners because God, their ocean liners were incredible. The Kaiser Wilhelm der Grosse, the Vaterland, the Leviathan. Now, God, I've got many stories about those because I love German ocean liners so much. But I'll get to those when we start building them, of course. Because why would I talk about them now when we're building U.S. Navy ships? That'd be stupid. Okay. Anyways, uh, onto the shipbuilding. We've got a good bit to build, so we need to get to it. Now, like I said, typically you see the widening of the aft, and I completely forgot to include this in this ship, so we're gonna fix it now. And yeah, it's it widens out a good bit. So we'll start out with that, which isn't, the widest, but it's okay. And it's looking like at the I have to look. This is, like I said, this is a very difficult ship to build. It's looking like at the bow, it's got a um the fatter curve. So more of a thing where we go out continuously until it's just very fat. What we could even do is this, where we just extend it out a little bit. So now what we have is what I was going for, that fatter nose, the fatter bow. And it looks a little odd from the underside, but you know, who's really looking at the keel? You know what I mean? So we'll just keep this up. God. Okay. So you can see, this ship is a lot more grand than than the Hannah. And again, it's like I said, um, it's a completely different class of ships, so it's just not the same at all. And I'm thinking for this, what we'll do is move everything over one first, and then sort it all out, and then prepare to do some shaping. So we'll do this, then maybe that. Oh yeah, okay, that looks better. And then continue with the widening. And I like this bow. I'm kind of fine with it. Now, maybe what we'll do is go in one. Nope, not what I meant to do. Kind of like that. Or even do this and then no. There we go. I don't really know what I did, but I fixed it. Actually, I don't think I did anything. Okay, and all we have to do is just make it a little longer. So as you can see here, the shape is coming together. It's got that fat bow and the okay, so now here's where it's really going to get interesting. So what we have to do here, and this is kind of like a fading technique. This is this wood is so interesting to build with. I genuinely it's very interesting. See, because I can do this, but I can't do this. Yeah. Yeah, you see what I mean? Like it all just it doesn't go together well. It's very hard to do, but it's okay. Okay, and now, like I said, gotta use the kind of fading technique to go from what we have to a more refined color fade. As I said, fading. Which means we're gonna have to do this. And essentially just carry it on out and drop it down one block. Which is what we're gonna do. And yeah, as you can see, it's a simple technique. And that's because it is. Nope, okay, we did this wrong. Alright, and now what we gotta do, drag it out some more. And eventually we gotta drop it down to 2 blocks, which is what we have. And it's looking a little better. And what we'll do is this. Boom. But now we have to finish filling in all these walls. And I swear, this is the most boring part of building a ship. It's just filling in the walls. It's always so annoying to do. Because, you could be just, you could really be building anything other than the walls and have so much more fun. No, those are wrong. Because they're supposed to be. Yep. Alright. So we've got a good majority of the ship done. It looks a little funky at the keel, but it's okay. It's okay. See, because it's all a learning curve, really. We learn as we go. It'll be okay. Now I think this is going to be the end, and we will continue building it tomorrow because it's late for me. It's been a while. I wanted to start earlier today, but I didn't have the chance. But as you can see, ship's a lot bigger. Um, there's actually going to be, walking room in here. Unlike this one, where you go in here and you can barely build a floor because there's just no room. And we had to, make it just a little bit bigger, even to just get that. And, down there in the cargo hatch, there's nothing. See, however, in this one, it's huge. It's huge. There should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 compared to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 compared to 9. There's 4 extra blocks of space on the sides, so 2 on each side, and then it's a good bit longer, which in the end means a lot. Now, I mean, it's not that much longer. I wanted to line up the lengths exactly, at least on the front, and then just see, how much it extrudes out on the back, because if you look from this angle, it's really cool, in my opinion at least, because what you see is the ship just overreaching, overpowering the original. And so that's the plan. We're gonna just keep going and building bigger and bigger and bigger ships until eventually we get to the modern warships of today, the aircraft carriers, the submarines even. I would like to build a submarine. Now, in reality, the submarines aren't huge, but I want to build like a 1-to-1 scale submarine and put an interior in it even, and just, see what it's like. Alright, but anyways, that's going to be the end of this one. We will finish building this sometime in the future. I don't know when the next stream will be, but we will finish building the Alfred. Just gotta put one more layer on. Well, 2 more in the back area. And then maybe shape it a little better. Probably cut off that. Even 2 more, honestly. Or even what we could do is cut 3 off there. Cut 2 off there. A better transition. Then we'll build the deck. And then work on a little bit of an interior, because there's not going to be a ton. But there will be a lot more space. So much more space. You'll be looking at about this much space doubled just in the bottom on the interior in just the back. I mean, heck, all of that space, double it, put it in the bottom. That's how much space you'd have, pretty much. Alright, but yeah, that's the end of this video, or this stream. Hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Anybody in the next one. Goodbye. Watch the videos. I guess the VODs.